Jai Shri Ram. So it's Canto 18 today. Advent of Sri Ram, Bharat and others, festivities in heaven as well as in Ayodhya, their investiture and the sacred thread, the arrival of Vishwamitra. The celebrated Ashwamedh sacrifice as well as that intended to procure male progeny performed by the high-souled emperor having been concluded, the immortals who personally attended it returned even as they came after receiving their respective shares of the offerings made in the sacrifices. Having completed the sacred vow of chastity, etc., taken at the time of consecration, the king proceeded towards his capital, accompanied by his wives and along with his servants, army, and conveyances. Having been honored according to their respective rank by the emperor, who had just concluded his sacrificial performances, the kings too that had assembled for the sacrifice returned full of delight to their territories, bowing low to Vashishta, Shringa, Vamdev and others, the foremost of sages. Clad in white uniform presented by the emperor and greatly delighted the troops of those glorious kings, even as the latter proceeded to their respective homes from the city of Ayodhya, shone brightly. The kings having dispersed, the glorious King Dashrath, who had gone out in state to see them off, entered this city once more, placing the foremost of Brahmans, Vashishta and others ahead of all. Duly honored and being followed to some distance by the wise king and his entourage, Shringa too departed with his wife Shanta. Having thus sent away all of them and fully realized his ambition of performing a horse sacrifice, the king dwelt happily in his own capital, eagerly awaiting the birth of sons to him. In the meantime, 6 seasons, each consisting of 2 months, rolled away after the sacrifice was over. Then, on the 9th lunar day of the bright fortnight of Chaitra, the 12th month after the conclusion of the sacrifices, when the asterism Punarvasu, presided over by Aditi, was in the ascendant, and as many as 5 planets, viz., the Sun, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Venus, happened to be exalted, appeared in the zodiacal signs of Mesha or Aries, Makara or Capricorn, Tula or Libra, Karka or Cancer, and Meena or Pisces, respectively, and Jupiter, in conjunction with the moon, appeared in the zodiacal sign of Karka. Mother Kaushalya, the eldest wife of Dashrath, gave birth to a highly blessed son named Sri Ram, who was no other than the Lord of the universe, that adored all of the 3 worlds, the delight of Ikshvaku's race, who represented one half of Lord Vishnu and was endowed with auspicious divine marks in that he had eyes tinged with red, possessed exceptionally long arms and ruddy lips, and a voice resembling the sound of kettle drum. Kaushalya shone brightly with that sun, possessed of immense glory, even as Aditi, the mother of gods, with Indra, the wielder of a thunderbolt, the foremost of gods. Next, through the womb of Kaikai, the youngest wife of King Dashrath, was born Bharat, possessed of true valor, who actually represented a quarter of Lord Vishnu and was adorned with all divine virtues. Sumitra, the second wife of King Dashrath, then gave birth to 2 twin sons, Lakshman and Shatrughan, both valiant and skilled in the use of all kinds of missiles, and jointly representing a portion of 1/6 of Lord Vishnu. Bharat, of cheerful mind, was born when the constellation Pushya was in the ascendant and the sun had entered the zodiacal sign of Pisces, while the twin sons of Sumitra were born when the constellation Aslesha was in the ascendant and the sun had reached the meridian touching the zodiacal sign of Karka. The 4 high-souled sons of emperor was born separately, though identical in essence. Endowed with transcendental virtues, they all resembled one another and vied with the 4 stars comprising the constellation Purva Bhadrapad and Uttara Bhadrapad in splendor. The Gandharvas sang melodiously and the bevies of Apsaras danced. Nay, the kettle drums of the gods sounded of their own accord, and a shower of flowers dropped from the heavens. There was great rejoicing, marked with crowds of men in Ayodhya. Nay, the streets got crowded with actors and dancers and were marked with great rush of men. The extensive roads in Ayodhya, which were noisy with the sound of songsters and those who played on musical instruments, as well as with that of others, such as the chanters of the Vedas, minstrels, bards, and panegyrists, and were strewn with all kinds of precious stones thrown by the people in order to signify their admiration for their songs, presented a gala appearance. The king bestowed presents worth giving on the ballad singers, bards, and panegyrists, and gave them riches and cows in thousands to Brahma. He further performed the naming ceremony with respect to his sons on completing 11 days after the birth of Lakshman and Shatrughan, or 13 days after the advent of Sri Ram, which took place 2 days earlier. Supremely delighted, the sage Vashishta on behalf of the king made the eldest an embodiment of the Supreme Spirit, known by the name of Ram, the son of Kaikeyi by that of Bharat, the first son of Sumitra by that of Lakshman, and the other that of Shatrughan on that occasion. The sage on behalf of the emperor fed the Brahmans of the capital as well as the entire kingdom of Koshala, and gave away to the said Brahmans a large heap of shining jewels. He further caused to be performed from time to time with respect to the 4 princes all purificatory rites, commencing from the Jatakarma and ending with Upanayan, or investiture with the sacred thread. The eldest of them, Sri Ram, proclaimed the greatness of his race like a flag, and proved to be the delight of his father. Again, he was esteemed by all created beings as Brahma, the self-born. All the 4 princes turned out to be the masters of Vedas and great heroes, and were all intent upon doing good to the people. All were endowed with wisdom, and all were adorned with virtues. Sri Ram, however, was exceptionally glorious of them all, and possessed of true unfailing prowess. Like the full moon in a clear sky, he was the beloved of all people, and was esteemed in the art of riding elephants, and on horseback, and on various processes of driving a chariot. He took delight in the science of archery, and was devoted to the service of his father. Lakshman, the promoter of fortune of those who sought his protection, was ever deeply attached from his very infancy to his eldest brother Sri Ram, the delight of the world. He gratified the latter in every way. Lakshman, who was rich in splendor, was a second life, as it were, to Sri Ram. Moving outside his body, without him, Sri Ram, the foremost of men, did not have even a wink of sleep, nor did he partake of a dainty dish brought for him without Lakshman. Whenever Sri Ram, the celebrated scion of Raghu, went out hunting mounted on horseback, Lakshman forthwith followed at his heels, armed with a bow and arrows, and guarding him on all sides. Shatrughan, the younger brother of Lakshman, was dearer to Bharat even than the latter's own life, and Bharat likewise was ever dear to Shatrughan. The said King Dashrath felt supremely delighted with his 4 blessed sons and beloved sons, and as Brahma, the progenitor of the entire creation, with gods, viz. Indra, Varun, Yam, and Kuber, presiding over the 4 quarters. When they got enriched with wisdom, they were adorned with virtues. Nay, they were modest, glorious, all-knowing, and far-sighted. King Dashrath, the father of them all, who were possessed of such unique glory and luminous splendor, felt rejoiced as Brahma, the ruler of the universe. Those tigers among men too were attached to their Vedic studies, nay, devoted to the service of their parents, and were well versed in the science of archery. Now, when their studies neared completion, King Dashrath, whose mind was given to piety, deliberated with his family priests, the sage Vashishta and Vamdev, and relations such as King Romapad about the prince's marriage. Even when that high souled monarch was deliberating on the subject in the midst of his counselors, the great sage Vishwamitra, who possessed of unique glory, arrived at the palace of King Dashrath. Seeking an audience with the king, he addressed the gatekeepers as follows. Inform the king about me, the sage Vishwamitra, belonging to the line of Kusha king of Gadi, having arrived at his door. Hearing the aforesaid utterance of the sage, and spurred on by the command, all of them ran fast to the king's apartments with an awe-stricken mind. Reaching the royal apartments at once, they forthwith reported to King Dashrath the news of the sage Vishwamitra having arrived at the portals. Overjoyed to hear the aforesaid statement of theirs, the king, full of devotion, went forth to receive him along with his family, priest Vashisht, even as Indra would go to meet Brahma. Seeing the hermit of austere vows and shining with effulgence, the king, with a most cheerful countenance, thereupon offered to him water to wash his hands with. Accepting the water for washing the hands with and other attentions offered by the king with ceremony, as enjoined by the scriptures, he duly inquired of the king after his health and prosperity. The exceedingly pious sage Vishwamitra also duly inquired after the welfare of the king's capital, treasury, kingdom, relations, and friends. He then said, I hope all your vassals are fully submissive to you and your enemies subdued. So I'll stop here. It's becoming quite a lengthy video and I'll continue tomorrow. Jai Shri Ram.